Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 504th episode of the GeekVerse podcast, a very special GeekVerse review. I don't know why it's very special. It's probably special because we're talking about the newest Jordan Peele movie. I am the strange animal, Trasnell, and I'm joined by...
The Jesus Lizard, Kirklin Patzer.
And I'm the crushing it, Dylan Muss.
Taylor will join us, but he's doing some sort of weird ambience thing in his room, so he'll be here in a second. So as I will say... to cover her for him, Twitter, Facebook, that's where you're gonna find everything. It's Comic-Con weekend. We got tons of big things popping off. You got newscasts from last week, reviews from last week, side quests, you got Lord of the Rings talk. We just did a great talk on the trailer. So many good things going on right now. Everything to know if this is your first time listening to Geekverse, everything you need to know about us is down below in the links. Audio, video, our Discord. Use the Manscaped code if you. It's right now. I am sweaty pig. So if you see me take a towel and just mop down, that's why. That's why I want to be using Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. GVPOD. Get 20% off free worldwide shipping. And Patreon. That's the best way. You get this episode and all the episodes, every single episode. I think we got like 5 episodes coming out next 3 days. You get those all ad free plus a bevy of different benefits. Early episodes. We just announced we're doing the X-Men retrospective. You're going to get those like months and months early, exclusive shows, calling after 9, and the more you support us, the more you get back. So it's going to be a very fun time. Look at that. Great job there. Yes. And a big thank you to our Patreon producers, Phase 5, Phase 4, Aaron Brain, April Darkness, Small Bigs, Josh Wright. Was that you, Kirklin, doing that?
Yes, it is.
You should do that because it's a good reminder for me to do stuff. Did you throw out the Manscaped one too when I was talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
I did
1
nothing.
point tonight.
No, that's all right. You know, you throw in the big old just awkward photo and stuff like that. Yeah, look at that. So Manscaped, go do it. Good. Fuck, we got some crazy ones in here. But you know what's crazy? You know, you thought that picture of Greg from Halo was crazy. Hadn't seen nothing yet. So I'm going to start. Obviously, again, if this is your first time, we're going to be reviewing Nope. If you've not seen it, if you're wondering, you should see it. You're not going to get to see it for a while, but want to know our thoughts, we'll do a non-spoilers portion. We'll take a break. So we'll give you a nice little warning, say, hey, and this is one of those movies that I think if you have any interest in, you definitely want to have the, hey, get out of here. But we're not going to get into specifics. Just our overall likes and dislikes if we'd recommend it. So Dylan, must I start with you? We have, we've been on an interesting journey with Jordan Peele. We had Get Out a few years ago, right around the podcast started. We had Us, and now we have his third film, Nope. And was this a big nope or yes from you when it comes to this film?
Well, first of all, yesterday I was talking with Muds as we were seeing this. Is there a name for Jordan Peele fans? I came up with Peel heads. What do you guys think of Peel heads?
The
like
peelers.
Peel head?
I like peelers.
I said
isn't
peel
that
head. Do
strip-
you like peelers?
Peelers.
No, you can't do peelers, though. That's a term for strippers.
Oh, yeah.
So
Is
yeah,
it? I didn't
yeah,
know
because they
that.
peel
Like
off
peeler bar.
clothing.
It
The
makes
peeler
bar.
sense.
Yeah, peelers, rippers. So yeah, probably the peel heads or the monkey paws because that's his company, thing. It's a
Right.
mouthful, but I'm down for peel heads.
Okay. Well,
That works.
and in terms of my Peel head fandom,
Mm-hmm.
I liked Get Out enough at the time of watching it, but then every time I watch it since, I love it more and more.
Yep.
And Us is a great movie as well that I think is maybe a little more mixed around the edges, you could say, but it's still like a fantastic movie. And coming into Nope here, I don't know where my expectations were. I think they're like pretty high, and he just completely over-delivered on those expectations. I love this movie from start to finish. I think in terms of Jordan Peele's now trilogy of movies, I think this is maybe the most straightforward, and I don't even want to throw the word simple in there. I'm just going to say it's the most straightforward, but not to say that it's lacking any of that depth, because there is still a lot to dig into and some symbolism stuff that I'm curious about your guys' opinions on. But I just think his very direct vision is still there. His movies are so unique and different. I love the cinematography is great, sounds great. And in terms of this one being like more of a sci-fi thing, I think in that way it completely delivers. Like all the special effects and all that stuff looks great. And on top of all of that, this movie is fucking hilarious. I was dying laughing like multiple occasions. I was probably annoying people in my theater because there's a couple of bits that just got me for like 20, 30 seconds straight. I was like just trying to hold it in my chair, which my name is in reference to one of them, but there's a couple other ones in there that were just so good. So I just love this movie from start to finish. I don't know. I'm excited to praise this in the spoiler section because I think this was fantastic and definitely my favorite of the Peele films. And I just love his trajectory. He's just doing such great, cool, unique stuff. So shout outs to Nope. This is a fantastic picture.
Kirk and Patzer, I actually have no idea what you think about this movie. So what do you think?
Yeah, going into this, I was pretty bummed because I had seen all of the trailers, and I thought the second last trailer was it showed too much, and then the actual last trailer showed just way too much, and then so I was kind of bummed going
Damn.
into it with that regard. But
Yeah, I missed that
can,
last one, thankfully.
I can pleasantly say that I think even with all that knowledge, like I still really enjoyed it, and there's still a lot of surprises that this like the trailer didn't reveal in, and I don't even because I haven't revisited the trailers since I've seen them, but I swear there was a couple things that happened in the trailer too, that just didn't happen in the movie, and again maybe I just don't remember the trailer at all. I'll get into specifics when we actually get to spoilers because I don't want.
I thought you were gonna start naming them. Like, fuck, we've been doing 7 years, and you're gonna be like that scene with the clown. There's
Was
no
that is
clown.
that
Clown
stuff
was
from that
terrifying.
most recent trailer from like a couple weeks ago? Are you more
Um,
specifically on?
About like the things that wasn't in the movie.
Yeah, because I feel like
No, it
everything
was, like,
I
an
remember
earlier
is
one.
in there.
I
Okay.
think it was an earlier one, but again, like I said, I
We'll
haven't
get into it,
revisited
yeah.
those, so maybe it's just I'm misremembering it. But nonetheless, I had a really good time with this movie. It was just such an enjoyable watch. I think I definitely agree with Dylan that out of all of them, it's weird to say it, but this is probably like the most straightforward like idea that he has for a very.
Yes.
But there's still a lot of things that just completely surprised me with. And yeah, it was a really enjoyable time. Very funny at times. It got to the point that it was really creepy and dark and eerie. And I think there was some moments that it just really surprised me how unsettling like parts of this movie actually got for me. Because I feel like it would be like an enjoyable time, and then something really dark and unsettling would happen where I'm like, oh my god, like I feel really uneasy right now, and then it would kind of take me back. But yeah, I feel like I can praise so many things about this movie, whether it's like the cinematography, the music choice, and just like our location. Like we were in pretty much one location this entire movie, other than bouncing to some other areas. But yeah, just the area that we were in was just it was really fun place to have a movie in. And yeah, all the actors were phenomenal. I feel like Keke Palmer. I feel like I haven't experienced her in anything.
Scream Queens, man.
Yeah, I gotta get on that. But she was so charismatic and like bubbly in this movie. She was just so fun to have on screen, and I'm excited. I'm bummed because as soon as she was on screen, I'm like, fuck, Dylan got a good one on his superhero job this year. She's fantastic. I could definitely just picture her in so many different things. But yeah, no, it was good times. So without further ado, before I spoil something unintentionally, I'll pass it along to the next guy.
I'll go because I added to the back of the room and he looked shocked, so I'll give him a few more minutes to get situated. But no, so yeah, I'm somebody that we had talked about many times where I feel like we had such a not negative experience with Get Out, but we just kind of had similar thing where it felt like we had seen all the best moments, right? I'm the same thing as Dylan, where I think when I reviewed it with Jessica, I gave like a 7.5, and I'm very much higher than that now, but it was just that initial almost disappointment of, oh man, like it kind of showed the magic trick. But then when you see the actual film, great film. I still liked Us a lot. I wouldn't say I was disappointed in Us, just like I liked it less than Get Out. But so this one we talked about, funny enough, on After 9, someone sent a super chat asking what our anticipation was for it. And one, I wasn't anticipating too much because like he's a director like Ari Aster, like Robert Eggers, like a Nolan, that no matter what, I'm going to be seeing his stuff. Unless he makes a bunch of stinkers in a row, I'm always going to be intrigued what he's doing. So there's always a baseline excitement for it. But it was lower than Us and Get Out for sure for some reason. And it was definitely because I had seen that second trailer. And for me, it was the reverse of, hey, they show us the plot line. To me, it looks like a very, very simple plot line, like Dylan Kirklin alluded to. It is that plot line, but I was surprised how much I loved it. One, again, I just have to hit home that this is, I'll have to look back in the annals of history of GeekVerse, but I feel like this is the strongest year for films that we've had. Like it's just such a killer year. Like when we do Golden Geeks, it's going to be a massacre. It's going to suck to cut like so many of these movies, but I loved this film. It has that simple plot line, but everything around the simple plot line is what makes it not simple. Like sometimes there's like, oh, this is a standout. I think, yeah, Kiki's a standout, stuff like that, but I think everyone's great in all their roles. Like I think everyone delivers. There's people I've never seen before here. Daniel's great, Kiki's great. Stephen Young, I cannot just wait to see him in so much more now that he's off of Walking Dead stuff. Like I just want to see him in so much stuff. He's so good. Score, usually that's been a big praise in all the Jordan Peele movies. So like the score is good, cinematography is great. again mentioned this before, but he just reminds me, I don't think there's a single, I'd say, storyteller or director that's good or as good as creating tension as Jordan Peele is right now, Jordan Peele and his crew, because there's some scenes on here I'm just on the edge of my seat. You're just tensing up. You're like, oh my God. And yeah, like Dylan said, you might have been like laughing a bunch like 5 minutes ago, but now it's on and you are just worried for yourself. You're worried for these characters. And it's just, and it could be first act and you're just like, oh my God. Like you probably know that some characters aren't going to die like in the first 10 minutes, but you're like, what is going on? And there's multiple moments I can think of for best scene. I'll say in spoilers, there's one shot in this movie particular that is one of my favorite shots of all time. The whole time I've been alive, it is just like, I'm not gonna say it's the best, but it's just breathtaking. And I feel like this is a little bit of his almost like, I feel like it's the closest he's been to Tarantino, where he introduces side characters that all have varying degrees of being maybe 20 minutes or 5 minutes in the movie, but you all like them and you almost want to know more about them. It's the same way as like just you meet, like Jimmy and who Tarantino plays. And it's just like, he's just this off character, or like in Pulp Fiction where you got the two drug dealers that help save Mia. Like you meet several characters like that where it's like, you almost just want to know more about this world. And I've always like liked the worlds he's built before, but all these characters were great. And, yeah, I can't praise it enough. It's definitely, I think it's right now in my top 3 right now for films, and that's saying something because we've had so many good ones. But I think that Get Out probably might still be his best one because it's such a weird dynamic of a movie, and how he made it work was great. But I think this somehow might be my favorite Jordan Peele movie. I think there's always, I say, like a difference between like best and favorite, but this is one that I'm probably gonna go see again. I absolutely loved it. The only cons I'd say is I think there's one story, which I'm excited to talk about in spoilers, where I think it works, but I don't know if it needed as much screen time. And that's maybe where I thought the pacing overall was good, but I do think it could have been even like maybe a little shorter. I think there's a few times it dragged just a little bit. So my cons are very minor, but there's just little things where I don't know. It was maybe like an excess of, I don't know if that had to be there. We kind of got that point already, or maybe we don't need a scene of this person walking for so long, but yeah, my cons are very minor. Go see the movie. Don't get it spoiled for you. It's a fun ride. So Taylor Field.
Well, this movie is something, again, I didn't see that second trailer. I still haven't watched the second trailer. I need to, just so I can kind of gauge, because we were talking about it, Travis, what it was spoiling and everything like that. But
And apparently it's a third trailer. I didn't even know that.
there's a third trailer. Oh
I hadn't, when
goodness.
Kern keeps talking, I didn't even know there was a third trailer. So I've not seen that at all. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm sending you the fourth trailer right now.
That's just the movie.
Yeah. 2-hour trailer.
This movie totally it caught me off guard. Me going in thinking I was there's going to be a twist, and when I was reading into it, it's like, okay, like Peele loves to add not I don't want to say just a basic movie, because so many movies now, people go in trained and they expect a beginning, middle, and end. They expect to be told the story and delivered, everything explained at the end. But with Peele's movies, I like it because you have to really come in and you got to really sit down with it. You got to stew on it, think on it, and really figure out for yourself. For the most part, it's not necessarily this is the way of the film. It's your perspective of how you interpret it with a general kind of consensus theme that everyone can agree on for the most part. And this, again, is one that you really got to go in and just kind of like look for the clues, the Easter eggs, and the nods kind of like going forward, because all these things that drop at the beginning, they seem to come around again at the end, and it's just coming out of the theater still with questions. I'm still wondering things, and when I did come out of the theater, it was very, very satisfied. I only have like one issue with the movie that I'll talk about in the spoilers part, but other than that, this film was just fantastic. As far as, again, not a spoiler, UFO related alien movies go, Signs has always been the one go-to for my, like, the one that always terrifies me, just that one that's always there. And I've never had another alien related film ever come close to being able to actually freak me out to the degree that Signs does. This movie actually managed to hit that note for me, and I think for me it speaks very, very in-depthly that it can do that. But again, the characters were fantastic. I loved how all the actors and actresses came in and just delivered on these different characters. Like, it was just fantastic performances, and this the intensity of it too. Right when I thought like, okay, like, it feels like we've been in here for like a long period of time, but not in a bad way, but just like I feel like the story is like closing off here now, but then all of a sudden, no, we get into this whole new like area of the story progression. It's like, this is fantastic. I love that we're still exploring this, because I don't want this to end like like, oh yeah, we got like 10 sequels, down the work, like Nope 2, Nope 3. I don't know what they're gonna do, but Noper. I'm just glad that we got like a good contained story in this movie where you can just let your perspective kind of fill in the gaps. So
Yeah, Peele said I feel like he won't do sequels, but even in the press, he's been like, yeah, I've had some ideas about Get Out. So it's like, I'm not saying that this would get a sequel.
Get in.
Well, that could be that title of the movie, really, literally. But, you never know. But anything else non-spoilers before we dive into the meat and potatoes here?
I don't think so.
Don't bring your kids. Oh, I got one thing. Holy shit, they do not abide by seating arrangements anymore in those theaters, because like
That's an after 9 topic.
Okay.
Oh,
It was a good adventure with me and Travis.
No, save for after 9, because I would want to get into that, but I don't want to delay the review 15 minutes time with the seating and get a 1-star review. I tuned into the Nope review and they're talking about their seats and how they lied. Oh man, but yeah. So right now, again, if you've not seen the movie, now's your time to bow out. We're gonna take an ad break and then we'll be right back. And we're back. So I don't want to dare ask where we're gonna start, because the beginning, everything like that. I want to I'm doing it now. I want to start at the beginning. Damn it, because the reason I want to start about it,
you became the very people you saw.
The reason I want to start with it, because hence my nickname, Strange Animal. I am obsessed with Steve Ewan's character in a good way. I loved that entire plot line, everything, even though that's the con where I think there's some of the stuff that didn't actually need to be complete in the movie. But man, the fucking opening with Gordy, the chimpanzee, oh my God. And then
I thought it was an ad. I thought it was an ad for something, and then I'm like, that's so random, because like we get that before the
This is
movie
a fucked
even,
up
really
credit card
starts.
ad.
Yeah, well, it ties in with like Monkey Paw too,
Yeah,
because
I
we had
thought
like a
the
Monkey
same
Paw
thing.
trailer, and then we get a monkey just being all fucking weird, and then it just like cuts to black.
Gordy
and I'm like,
Studios presents.
yeah, like okay, this is strange, and then it wasn't until like later on, obviously, when we start to learn more about that, I was like, wow, like what a choice there, and then it just made it. Sorry to just steal it away from you,
No, go
Travis,
ahead,
but
take
it
it.
just made it so much more unsettling when we get like the full flashback, because like the initial one, it just cuts when he like looks at the viewer, and then when you realize that it's that character and it's like his perspective, and it's like, no, it's not just fading to black now, we're getting what's happening, and that was a moment where I felt very unsettled and I didn't know what the hell was gonna happen next, but yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know what the dad character is thinking. I talked about this Taylor in the car, where like he was completely safe and he like came down to like reason with Gordy the chimp. It's like, now is not the time. Like he felt like he was safe.
I
So
think
watch
he was
Planet of
trying
the
to sneak
Apes.
away. He was trying to sneak away, but then Gordy caught him. So then he was trying to reason with him, I think.
Gordy was too fast. But yeah, what an unsettling way to open the movie. And I love all of Jordan Peele's openings. I love, because each time we get the credits too, it's always over something, especially the credits in this, which we'll get into, like such
The
an
bunny
ominous.
and us, just
Yeah.
that shot zooming in.
He
or was
kinda-
it just zooming out, right? I
Yeah,
forget
it's zooming
what
out, and like
yeah.
because it shows all the other bunnies, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, and I feel like I can't remember what happens. I feel like in Get Out, it's just the road, but I knew from the bunny thing, I'm like, okay, whatever he's showing us here is the twist. You just don't know it yet, and I appreciate that, because there's no way of knowing that. But then when you get the actual scene, and oh yeah, just unsettling. Like Kirklin said, when you get back to it later, and at first I thought it was very random. Like, hey, how are we gonna tie this all back? But I really enjoyed that character. I liked everything about it for the most part. Like I said, I don't know if you necessarily really need him particularly in the movie. You literally just could have had the whatever it is take just a bunch of random people and get you the same result. So I do feel there are times where there is some excess in the movie, but I love the way Stephen Young played that character. I love that monkey scene, how it set up two things. One, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, but I love that set up the idea of predators, right? Because at first when I watched, like, how does this relate at all? At first I was like, this Gordy, it didn't take me till a couple hours till thinking about it. At first, I thought I liked the Gordy scene as far as attention builder, but I'm like, why does this even need to be in the movie? But it set up two things: of one, like his just obsession of fame because like it got taken away from him, right? And he wants to get something back. But two is just the whole movie. You got the director watching Predators and him about this predator and don't mess with the predator and stuff like that. So it made more sense later on. But I got more to say, but I'll pass it off to somebody about just particularly the opening and.
Well, yeah, I'll jump in on that particular character. I found him so fascinating. Just the idea of taking what is this incredibly traumatic event in his life and like that being his personality, or how he's like spinning that into a career, or how he has this creepy room that's like a shrine to this thing where he saw like his friends and coworkers as a kid just getting mauled to death. So I found that part of the character just very intriguing, in kind of that way that you guys were alluding to, where it's like, I want to know more about this character, but at the same time I'm feeling like totally happy with what we did get.
He's the one that felt like a Tarantino
desperation
character
of him
to
was
me.
like was so interesting. I loved it.
Yeah, no, I was just saying he's the one that felt like a Tarantino character to me, of just like this side, like interesting but really fucked up person. This guy that like lets people pay to like sleep in there. And he's like, oh, I don't know what they did in there, but it's just like he's just like this scumbag. But Steven Yeun plays him such like a nice kind of genuine way that he's feels like that kind of the like what is it, the stereotype, like the used car salesman, right? Like they're a nice guy, but they're selling you like a bad bill of goods and everything, and.
Right.
And that's where it's like I really hope that he works with Peele again in the future in like a larger role. But it was like shocking the way it went out and everything. But
This would be like jumping ahead a bit, but it's still that same storyline. It's just when we see it next is why Gordy didn't attack him. I'm curious what your guys' take in on that. Muds, her theory was that is because he kind of had like that tablecloth, like because we were thinking about like the comparisons between Gordy and like the alien mothership thing, and how like the tablecloth is coming down, it's kind of shielding his eyes, and so like Gordy couldn't like see his eyes necessarily, even though he knew it was him. And obviously he throws like the fist bump, so he's cool with him. But I'm curious what your guys' take in on why he didn't get attacked was.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a really good theory there, that it just he couldn't see directly into his eyes. I mean, I don't know, because initially I just thought he was very unthreatening, but also I'm sure everybody else in that room was probably unthreatening.
Yeah,
in
there's like
Gordy's
another
eyes.
kid, like the girl.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, no, I honestly I didn't put too much thought into it either, but I like that pitch that it was like the tablecloth too, and it was also just like visually to have the camera there, like that was really good too, of us being in his eyes or shoes, wherever.
yeah, no, I think the eye coverage is good. I also just took it as a way of kind of an existential thing of this predator did tear these things apart, but that doesn't necessarily make it evil in a sense. It just felt threatened, and it felt like its environment was being exposed. And whether, because the main key is the one that has the connection with Gordy in the show, right? So my headcanon is more like, okay, maybe they were the closest, they're doing the fist bump. So for me, that was the way of even this thing in the sky, it's just in an environment trying to survive. And even with this Gordy chimpanzee, it didn't just attack, the balloon popped and it scared it, right? And these balloons kept popping and setting it off. So to me, that's what they're kind of showing, that yes, it's a predator and it can do these bad things, but it necessarily doesn't make it by itself a bad thing. It's just this, and same thing like this thing in the sky, it's technically probably just feeding and trying to stay alive, right? It's not going after people because it wants to take over. Now, maybe you could headcanon that, but really the whole movie is it's feeding and it's vomiting stuff out it doesn't need, right? It has a will to survive. So kind of the same thing as Gordy. It's like he's scared in a way. And before I forget, I loved the scene you was talking about, like the SNL skit, and just like Chris Kattan, like you said, is crushing it. Like that whole room scene, everything was seen in that scene from in the beginning when they're in the office to there and just telling the story. I love later on in the movie when they're yelling across the field and stuff. Like such a fun character. But Taylor, what do you want to add on any of this?
Well, to answer your question, Dylan, I think it's just a human flaw where people humanize it, and you shouldn't, like, at the end of the day, this chimpanzee is, you have to fear it. It's not something that can be, like, reasoned with, negotiated like that. The dad, when he came downstairs, like, Gordy, no, stop, don't. And, like, when you see Gordy kind of come to terms with what happened, things kind of simmer down, then you just see, you see Steven, like young Steven, just kind of under the table. Just I guess young Ricky, I guess is his
Young
name.
Ricky.
Just
Yeah,
he's under the table and he's afraid, and Gordy is afraid, and I think there's just that mutual baseline. I don't want to say animalistic kind of level, but they're both kind of in the same tier now, where he's afraid and he's panicked, and obviously Ricky is terrified. When you get into the notion of that whole SNL skit that Ricky was talking about, I like that a lot, because when they were talking about this whole occurrence, like Ricky didn't go in to explain the actual thing. He used the SNL skit to revisit that and use that as kind of covering his own pain of experiencing
That tells the story, he said.
Exactly.
That tells the story,
So
yeah.
I liked how that dynamic was, and he slid in like the humorous tones. Like, yeah, I let in this couple like 50 grand or 50K just to spend the night here. Like, just he's such a great actor. But yeah, I think that it's a great foreshadow to what is to come, where he obviously didn't learn the lessons, where you can't contain these things.
He that was like his shot to show him in life, hey, you almost died because this chimpanzee lost it, a predator in its state, something happened, lost it. You actively know this thing in the sky is real, will take things like eat like flesh, animal stuff like that, and you're kind of goading. And I've had the same thought too. Like, that was to show us, that was a lesson for that character, and he did not learn. He did
absolutely
he
not.
did not
Like,
take anything away from that experience, other than he felt robbed, because he's like, oh, we're the biggest hit show, we're going to a season 2, like that's what just felt like he was wanting to be that guy, and it got taken away from him. This was like his chance again to be that guy, and karma, you know.
yeah, it's something that's it happens all the time. Orca whales, other animals, like it's crazy. You see it like when
Sasquatch.
when people are dismissing OJ's his recommendations about the horse, right? Like, don't look in the eyes, everything. And there's what people do for this level of entertainment to get like this kind of shot or this footage, do whatever for the bigger purpose, bigger picture. And it's just it sucks, because people will die when you try to contain things in a way they're not supposed to be contained, aka like humanizing these things, like the horse, like Gordy, and again, like what Ricky tried to do with this alien creature. Thought he could just get the horse out. The horse is like, fuck it, I'm not going out there. And so what the creature do is just ate everyone else. Yeah, he's early. You can't like calm that situation down. It's a fucking alien. Like, God
And
damn.
a massive one too. It's not just like little ET where you could trot it out there and be like, look at this. This is like, it's literally the size of a plane, and you're gonna try to be like,
No
coax
phones,
it out here.
please. No
yeah,
phones.
for
It's
a
early.
show and stuff. And that's where I was confused, because I was saying this to Taylor, where I wasn't sure if it was gonna be this kind of fun twist of play where he was making a play on like, oh, there's aliens out here, and then it was going to be the unfortunate thing, like there is actually aliens and he didn't know, but clearly he knew. I really appreciated there's one shot where he is talking to the crowd, and we kind of have an idea, but he's talking to the crowd like, you're going to see something crazy, blah blah blah, and then he turns his back and you get to see that UFO on the back of his jacket, and that just is like such a great twist, like, oh fuck, that's what he's talking about. But at first they don't show that at all. It's just him talking about just this unanimous thing that's like what he's going to show you, and already they have it set up good because they have something tarped over the thing, so you think, oh, it's going to be in that, whatever he's going to show is going to be in this crate, but it's just a horse. But like I said, when he turns, he has that like embroidering, and that was like such a good like visual cue. That's the classic show don't tell, because right then you know, okay, even before he calls the alien, you know 5 minutes before what he's talking about, and just such a good little detail.
You guys mentioned that Chris Kattan joke, and I just want to bring that up again, because like in my theater, no one cared about that, but I loved this joke so much. I think this came up on our 7-year cast where I was talking about how me and my family just have like, we just love Chris Kattan. Like, he's one of our favorite SNL people, even though he was never like one of the big stars or didn't go on to have like this huge movie career or anything. But I just love Chris Kattan because as like a physical actor, he's just hilarious. And that's like one of my favorite skits of his is he plays, I think the character's called Mr. Peepers, where he's playing like this weird monkey ape character. And
he
he's
did
like
it with the
chewing
Rock
on-
ones too.
Yeah. He's like eating apples in weird ways and like sucking on Will Ferrell's face. And so when he says that first and he's like, oh, and then we got Chris Kattan as Gordy, I just like
In his
immediately picture
prime.
that. And I'm just laughing. And then he's telling this story and then he's like, and you know, it's Chris Kattan. So he's fucking crushing it. And I just like was dying laughing. It was so good. He kept bringing up Chris Kattan in that. He mentioned Cherry O'Terry as well. It was in that as well. And I love that joke. That really landed for me. And then I like that too, kind of right afterwards you see like the Mad TV comic that like the cover of that scene too, which I think is a fun callback to Jordan Peele. That's kind of where he got his fame, right? Was through Mad TV. So I thought that was kind of a fun shout out as well. Another Gordy like similarity thing I thought was interesting was just that the thing that sets them off is that they open the present and these balloons float up and then they start popping, and that's like what freaks them out. And I love that that's what takes out the mothership thing in the end, is that like they throw that big balloon up and then it pops, and we'll talk about that scene later on. But once again, I really liked that kind of similarity. And then my other question about that scene was they highlighted this a couple times, which was the shoe that was kind of like just standing there. I don't know what to think about that. Do you guys have any theories?
I was reading something about that where it could be interpreted as kind of like what they reference later on. Like, do you have a word for a bad miracle? And it says nope. And I think that's something, again, like you could look at it as being interpreted as like it's a bad miracle. Like, oh, this shoe is doing this thing. But it's, again, Gordy went AWOL and started killing people. So...
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if it was going to do something with... At first, like, are we tracking when we first saw it, like, are we tracking the aliens, like, all the way back to this scene or something? Because it's standing
like
in a
gravity
very...
thing.
Yeah, it's standing in a very unnatural way, but I think it's... that is a good theory that you read today. Like, it is just a bad miracle of, like, this shoe, for some reason, the weight proportion in the floor just happened to work, that it could stand like this, and the bad miracle is also that this chimpanzee killed or mutilated most of the cast. Like we see Ricky's first crush later on, and obviously her is not looking good, which I'm actually pretty sure she liked my tweet last night about Gordy, so shout out to that actress. But
whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. That shoe could just be like, he could just put that there for fun, and you might think it's something. And maybe like, no, I just want to put this shoe to fuck with people. Like it's just
the camera. The way the camera focuses on it more than once is like definitely something to me. The one thing I could think of is that a big thing later on is like when the aliens like splitting or shooting things out, like keys and things are falling into the ground and like sticking up in ways that are unnatural. You wouldn't really see a key standing on its own, which obviously the shoe wasn't stabbed into the ground, so it's not the same. But I don't know if once again it was trying a way to kind of connect those, like the similarities between Gordy and I guess Jean Jacket is what we're going to be calling that.
Yeah,
thing,
I guess that's how it got renamed.
Yeah. So interesting little note, I guess.
I don't know if this, Kirklin, did you have some more to add? I saw your head move.
No,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I want to, because you talk about Jean Jacket, a little, because I'm sure we'll talk about him again, but more on like the ending of Ricky's character is like they kind of hinted, and I was kind of picking up on it, but like this thing is not a ship, right? And man, we talk about the beginning of the film where it is just a tube, but I love what they did where it's like this kind of almost, I don't know, plasticky, rubbery sort of substance that's a tube. But the beginning of the film, it was great because it made it look like it's just like the inside of a camera, and it's like showing the shots. So it's like, okay, that's a camera. And it's like, I didn't pick up on that because I've not used like old style cameras. I'm like, okay, that makes sense for what it is. But later on, it's revealed no. And man, you talk about a disturbing scene, because it's disturbing, but you're also trying to figure out like what is going on in this moment when everyone's sucked up and they're getting sucked through this tube. And the tubes honestly just look like a Chuck E. Cheese like play center. Like if you've slid through that area, it doesn't look like anything like that grotesque until you get to the top.
I don't know why they're screaming. Just like
no, but I mean like the actual substance is just like plastic, like it's just it doesn't look like a big monster with teeth or gross it's just like they're just going through plastic, people throwing up in the middle of it, and then obviously you get to the end, there's like some kind of organ stuff or teeth going on or whatever it is. But that scene was just, that's gonna stick with me for a while, those people going through those tubes, and then when that thing would move, you would hear the people being digested. Oh my god. And that was such a good reveal of this thing's not a ship, it's a creature, predator, specimen, whatever it is. My God, what a scene!
That was the big one for me. That one's stuck with me like since I've seen it, because like I was waiting for the moment. Like, okay, it's taking them to something. Maybe the aliens are gonna like probe them or something here. Like we're gonna get there. And then when I realized that it's like, no, this is just it. Like they just get stuck there, and they're just like the ultimate claustrophobia that you could ever have.
That'd be a terrible way for me to go.
Like you're just crushed with other people that are screaming, some people are puking all over, and like you will never be able to get out of that moment, and you're just stuck there. And then just realizing that every time it moves, like what you're hearing is just people's like screams and like, oh my god, that
audio
was
climbing on those. Oh my god.
Oh man, that's
so good.
Yeah, and then so that and like it was it was a pretty lengthy scene of like the lady getting up there, and then it's just getting worse, and people just screaming, and then it's just like I feel like the camera was on a couple more seconds just to make us extra unsettled, and it definitely worked for me because it was like, oh my god, just the reality of that. Like, it just changed your whole outlook on like what that could mean to just get pulled up, right? Like, you think you're gonna get pulled up, maybe, you know, like some aliens are gonna, I don't know, interrogate you, maybe probe
That's
you.
what
It's
Ricky
like, no,
thought. He was
it's just-
smiling.
yeah,
No, this is like
100%.
you're in a gigantic snake belly and you're slowly getting digested in something. You know,
Sarlacc
like,
pit.
yeah.
And then when that moment happens, when it's just like the
Reverse Sarlacc
silence,
pit.
when it just kills them all, and you're just like, I
Mhm.
don't know if it crushes them, ingests them, or something. But yeah, I'll let you guys go because that one just really stuck with me. It was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, I'm so freaked
Well,
out right now.
I think it was just so interesting because it's like, for a large part of this movie, it feels like, okay, I've seen this movie in a way, and obviously it's
Yeah.
got that Jordan Peele feel to it. That's a fun Jordan Peele feel. But it's like it's just such a fascinating thing because at first you're just seeing like this kind of gray, disc mothership that we've seen in like so many things. But then over time, as you're seeing more of it, and it's like, okay, this is kind of organic looking, like it looks like bones on the outside. And then when it finally like opens up at the end, and I mean, I picture that as like opening its diaphragm or whatever it's doing, right? It's just like airing itself out in a way as it's moving around rather than like having clothes or something. Like, it's just such a fascinating creature that, I don't know. And normally in movies like this, I feel like they really play on like, okay, you don't get to see much of it. You only see it at night. You see it in brief spots. It's like when you finally get it at home on DVDs when you can pause and like look at it. But even then it's like, oh, well, it's not moving anymore. But that's why I think it like the subversion of that too, of we got to see that thing in so many different angles. We got to see the inside, the outside. We got to see different modes of it. See it like really close up, HD. You see it for long panning shots. I think that to me that was so cool that there wasn't like a need to feel like you got to hold back. And maybe part of that from older movies is like a budget thing. You
Oh,
show
yeah,
a
for
little
sure,
bit and
yeah.
it works.
Or just lack of technology at that time too. Yeah.
But like just the confidence here, like no, our effects here look fucking amazing, and we're gonna let you look at this thing. And it takes a while too. Like it takes a long time before you actually get those good shots. So you're still getting that tension of like, what is this thing? You're trying to figure it out. And I think that was incredibly successful from what could be something that is generic that we've seen a lot. But no, it's so good.
The pacing of that to like, oh, there's something in the sky, to oh, it's a UFO, to oh, it looks kind of like skin, like a mushroom form, to oh no, it has like a inside, to when it expands at the very end, and it is just this massive just feat of like, what the fuck am I supposed
Beautiful.
to do with?
It's
Yeah,
so
it is,
cool.
but then it's haunting because like even that thing of like when it expands, it has the green, and it just keeps like radiating and doing different layers. You're like. Obviously they figure out how they're gonna be, but if you're just looking at it going like, what am I supposed
Don't
to
look at it,
do?
Travis.
Don't look at it. Yeah, I kept getting mad at Kiki Palmer's character. She kept looking at it when she was. I'm like, stop doing it.
couldn't
Like
stop.
but no, just the pacing of that was so good, and like the one thing I have to show, I talked about non-spoilers, but my favorite shot, like I said, I never made like a top 10 shot list, but I have to probably soon because I thought about it, I'm like, this is just amazing shot. It's in the middle, and my favorite portion of the film is the second act where it's nighttime and just everything's going really like right after Ricky's been eating and it's nighttime. OJ's driving back and there's all this stuff going on. The Fries guy and Kiki get inside the house and everything, but there is a shot. It's nighttime. There's lightning going on. It's when the creature or whatever is over the house and it is like displooging all the blood out. And you have rain, blood, lightning, and the house is just dripping in blood. And it's just this shot of the specimen, house, rain, blood, lightning, the ground. Oh my god, I've never seen like I've probably had, but like that's just one of those, like it felt like the first time I watched Inception of like, this is just going to be burned in my mind forever because not because it was scary, just because like this is such a beautiful, like there's so much to like, it's a smorgasbord, like what's going on right now in this moment, just this house just covered it and just, oh my god, that's going to stick with me forever. It's just like such an achievement, and it all looks good, like you said, Dylan. It all looks good, it all feels real, it feels like in the world, and oh, that shot is just incredible. So
Absolutely agree with that.
Taylor, anything to say on this creature? Because I hadn't heard you talk about, you want to be digested like that?
No, definitely not.
I would be climbing to the top, like get me first, like get me out of here.
It was interesting because they showed like this decaying carcass of a horse just to kind of help fill your mind's take on what is really going on. Like, are they just being transitioned through some organic substance, like War of the Worlds style, or like what's really going on? So yeah, when you see that horse, then you know, okay, these things are this thing is digesting the people, and just like that's not how I want to go. So it totally makes sense now too, when it just like sheds, I guess, or drops and pukes out all the metal and all that waste material and stuff like that. So that whole sequence with the house was just absolutely brutal. The tone, the silence of it, and then just the rain pouring down around the house, and it's just above the house. And it's funny how the intelligence behind it too. It knew the people were in there, and whether or not it was doing it just as a way of like a threat or it's just a territorial thing. Like, there's so much more I need to understand on a second watch through to just kind of pick up on what this thing was doing and what it's like. It's so much more than just trying to feed and eat. It's just, like they said, it's territorial, all this kind of stuff. So many different layers to it. But I think the concept of it starting off as thinking it's a ship, and the trailer is portraying like, hey, there's little alien figures too, which we'll talk about at some point here. But it really being just this entity, I love that idea. That's something I've very loosely heard about, my browsings online, and it's just such an out of this world context that I hope people really can like look at and just think that that's such a cool way to kind of showcase this as just being this big alien creature. I'm just curious. I want to know, how does it fandangle with electronics? How does it like what are its limitations? What, like when they start talking about its weaknesses and stuff, I was just super getting into that. Just how they were able to learn so much about it. When the director showed up, he's like, "Yeah, that cloud hasn't moved." Like, how does it create that cloud to not move? Essentially, like when it can zip in and out of clouds that are moving. There's so many questions I have, so I'm very curious to see on a second watch through.
Well, and if you like that stuff, go check out Cryptic Clues, because Taylor will talk all about that sort of things, So
I was going to say that theory of hiding in the cloud feels like a Cryptid Clues.
100% the cloud monster.
It's so crazy too, because I went saw this 2 Bettys and my dad. And my dad, I swear, like last week he got back from Manitoba, and one of his aunts had a video of literally that exact same thing, that there was a cloud in the sky, and it just
you're
wasn't
like,
moving.
Auntie might be right.
No, yeah, like as soon as they said that in the movie, me and my dad just like looked at each other, just like, oh my god, this is hitting too close to home here.
That's
crazy. It was a crazy moment. And then one thing I wanted to say that I was kind of hinting to in the spoiler free section is this was just the whole aspect of the alien. I think that's really what threw me for a loop, like coming from the trailers, because the last trailer, it literally had the scene of like OJ on the horse, like with the saucer, like chasing him, and I'm like, why the fuck is this in this trailer? Like, this is so dumb. Up until this point, okay, we could kind of hint that there's a saucer or something in the sky, but like to actually just have it in a chase scene,
really sucks.
It was egregious. It was absolutely ridiculous, but it was.
Peel, stop doing that. Your trailers are fine.
I blame the
first one.
studio over him. I feel like that's definitely a studio decision over Jordan Peele. But nonetheless, it wasn't just a classic saucer. It was the creature was the saucer, and I think that's really what surprised me, and it kind of helped my preconceived knowledge coming into the movie. It's like, okay, well, I know there's the saucer there. When do we see the aliens? But then like it's one and the same, and that really surprised me, and it made it just really enjoyable in the sense that the saucer that we saw was something incredibly original. Like, I've never seen the alien be the flying saucer that we've seen. We've only ever seen it as, and like, who's to say that's not the case? Like, if there's flying saucers, who's to say that it's not just like an actual creature? Because like, I think that's something that's really fun and or really fun about alien movies and stories and concepts. And what Peele did really good in this one is, I feel like we just tack on like a human trait when we think of like aliens, of like, oh, they're going to want to study us and they're going to be these like humanoid things. It's like, who's to say that it's not just a saucer that just consumes? like it doesn't have to have our reasoning to it. And I think that was very, very masterfully done by him. And again, like I said, like I thought I was spoiled because I knew there was gonna be a saucer in it, but it was something complete. I mean, to be honest, I wish I didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
Still.
Oh yeah, of course.
I'm
Yeah.
glad it still
My
worked for
dad,
you.
I was saying to him, I'm like, man, I wish I knew what you knew, because he hadn't even seen a teaser trailer or anything for it. I told him the movie was called Nope, and I'm like, man, I'm jealous. I wish I was going to this movie with that knowledge. But nonetheless, I was
Kirkland's
still able
not
to
a
have.
listener of GeekVerse podcast.
I was still able to have a really fun time with it. Taylor Field.
I just want to back you up on that statement because you're right. Like the general narrative, human census is that UFO is just like a spaceship, lights, and like little green men, whatever you want to call it inside. But I think UFOologists or people that are like deep down the rabbit hole,
They're actually
they
called
might
UAPs now.
yeah,
Taylor?
UAPs, unidentified aerial
I got it wrong,
phenomenon.
too.
So that's what they're called now. Yeah, and I like if you want to actually know what footage they were referencing, you can definitely check that out. There's 3 distinct videos of that on YouTube you can find. But anyways, I think it's interesting because people that see this, they might. I feel like people might be offended because it's gonna like intervene with this straightforward, narrow point of view of thinking. Like, well, no, that's not Alien can't be like that. But you're totally right, Kirkland. Like how Peel executes this is fantastic because it like I mentioned earlier, you get the little hint of the stereotypical aliens where it's just the kids in the suits moving around. It's like, okay, that's what we think we're getting into because that's the general narrative and the consensus for aliens. But no, how he spins it around it being the ship as the alien is just fantastic. And before I move on too far from that scene, that's one of my humorous moments when the light turns on and like it's super silent and the intensity's on. Then the figure comes up and he's just like ready, like standing looking at it, and then it like drops down and the second one comes out and he's like, nope. That fucking got me so good.
Every time they say the word nope, it just worked completely. Like
Yeah.
when he's in the car too and he like peeks
Yeah.
his head out the window.
Nope.
Closes it,
And he,
falls
he
asleep.
locks the car like
Yeah.
like it's gonna do anything. Like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And also just like the first explanation of like I think it's when what was Kiki Palmer's name? Like
Emerald?
something? Yeah, Emerald. So when OJ and Emerald are like talking and he's like, what would you call a bad miracle? And then it just says nope. Like, oh, that was such a great, again, tie-in for the title. And then with the reoccurring just thing of that, of like a bad miracle. And then, as you mentioned, like all the uses of nope. Like it was so masterfully done. Because you could easily just have a throwaway title for a movie like this, but it actually had a lot of significance. And I feel like that's a running theme with Peele's stuff is he brings a lot of meat and potatoes behind the things he does, and the title was definitely not lacking in that regard. But yeah, that sequence with the fake aliens, man, that was another just absolutely phenomenal scene. It was so freaky because at first you can't really see what it is. I'm like, is that a horse kind of crouched down?
Yeah,
And
they
then when it steps up,
shot
I'm like,
well.
holy fuck, this is happening right now. Like we're getting into the aliens.
Just
He
the little
just
head
decks
like
that fucking
bobbling.
kid.
Everything though, like Taylor mentioned, like the slow movement of it, and then when the second one pops out, like it was freaky. And then when you have him waiting for them to come around the corner, and it's just like the camera that he's kind of
Yeah.
recording it there,
Fuck.
and then it's slowly coming out.
Yeah.
And yeah, all of that was because it was just like a buildup of suspense. Like the end result, he didn't get attacked by an alien, but it was it was as scary as if that was the case, right? So that was fantastic.
Let's take our second ad break and we'll talk more about Nope. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So anyone have somewhere we want to go? Taylor has finger guns out.
I
so-
do. So
I'm next.
there was the sequence where Ghost jumped out of its pen and ran off, and so OJ goes out to find it. Emerald's in the house. She starts blasting music. He goes out and he goes past the fence where the sign says private property, no trespassing, and that's reflecting their property, don't trespass. But when he steps out, he's feeling like something weird is going on. And then you see at ground level something with lights, and you can hear like some dialogue talking. I was trying to figure out what is this in relation to, because this is before we knew what the UFO really was. So
Even
I was
when he's
thinking,
looking off in the distance and he sees those two lights and then the red.
yeah,
lights
yeah,
up
like
and down.
what was he kind of like observing, monitoring
So-
there?
I think what he's doing is I think he's looking down at Jupiter's claim and they're doing like
Yeah.
a test run of their show.
Okay.
I think that's what's happening, and that's why I think those two lights, like the reason it's attracting the alien is because it looks like eyes to that alien, and that's
Right.
what like brought it there in the first place.
Mm.
I there's some things that fall apart with this theory, which is one, I don't know like if like are they just doing test runs at that point, or have they already been doing that show for other people? My idea was that more like that was a test run, and then their actual like first show is the one that we
Yeah, I
see in the
agree.
movie. And I guess they've just been sending out horses, but I still don't know why the alien wouldn't continue to Jupiter's claim and then fuck up Ricky and the crew there. Like I guess the horse ideally runs so far away that it just eats the horse and then like fucks off at that
I
point?
think so, because the test run would make sense, because when he says it's going to take a few hours, and we allude to like it's a joke, but when he does say, "Oh, it's early," I think they were planning for
Yeah.
that to be sundown. So it's almost like the first few times they had done it, maybe it was just taking the horse, it was working, everything like that. But then he did not expect obviously what was going to happen. So I think it still works enough for me to make that. I think it jives in the head of. For that situation. So at first I was the same as you, Tay. I'm like, what the fuck is the voice he's hearing? I'm like, okay, it's a show. But at first I'm like, is this like a
That's also
Predator
just a
thing?
great scene. Like obviously in hindsight it has different meaning, but like at the moment it's like that is fucking creepy. Like that whole sequence. I guess because the other part that doesn't make sense to me is like obviously what's happening is the Jean Jacket's getting close enough that its magnetic field is knocking the lights out. So then, like, at that point, it's like, well, at that point, wouldn't it be close enough to see Ricky and crew? So that's the part that doesn't necessarily make sense. But then I love the part when, like, all the red lights up the mountain are turning off one by one and coming back one by one. I think, like, just the cinematography of that as the camera pans around is fantastic there. And then I guess kind of related to that, my question was why, like, is it just that the horse is called Lucky and the horse is lucky that it doesn't get messed up?
I think
is
so.
That,
it's a lucky horse, yeah.
and like, is it
I think
is
it's
it
like a
that it
Western
doesn't run
thing.
out into the field? I think it really is just that it's lucky. I am fine with that as a solution, but I was curious why that horse seemed to make it through that trial that all the other horses got destroyed too.
Well, and that horse was smart, you know. Times where it didn't need to move, it wouldn't move, and the times where it had to move, it had to move. But yeah, I think it's just like playing into the Western trope of all the lucky horse. Because even like the last shot of this movie is very Western like trope of like the saloon barn thing, and then it's like him in his Scorpion King hoodie and just the smoke, and he's just sitting there looking like Django, you know, like very like they hit those themes. So I think that's what I took from it, is just kind of like a trope like that. But to your like talking about the red lights, I think that was a great use. Like all the electricity feeling was great because it gave it a sense of, obviously as a villain that doesn't have a face or talk and stuff like that, but it gives that kind of like the way, you know, Freddy Krueger's coming is when you fall asleep, right? And this is where when you see power go down, you know this thing is getting close. I love the scene where they're using like the inflatable wacky arm guy as like her trigger that she can go. Like she cannot start up this bike until this thing goes up. And there's just like multiple uses, whether it's for our heroes or for the, you know, creature to like come around, but the uses of power and the visuals of that I thought were really done and really well thought out and everything like that. And of course the fucking bike TMZ guy was just such a good, that gag worked for me. It's just like he's just like, oh, and he just like breaks his arm. Yeah, reflective helmet completely breaks his arm. Like really good stuff. But I love the use of taking and the giving of energy throughout the entire film.
I was also going to ask, so in that like kind of towards the ending sequence, this is maybe jumping around a bit, but I love, first of all, just like the setup of them getting this heist ready. They all got their Monopoly piece. They're all set up somewhere. I was curious with the wacky inflatable arm men, which we saw in the trailer, which is a thing. I think that was fun, but I was a little bit confused if they were trying to make it so that it was the eyes of it that was supposed to be baiting the jean jacket around, or if it was purely there as like for the electrical field so they could tell like where it was.
Electrical
field.
field.
I took it the electrofield just because they kept talking about batteries too with these things specifically. Like, yeah, they all got good batteries except one has a faulty one. So I took it as just they can easily
I just
monitor.
feel like they're highlighting eyes so much as being a thing. Looking at it. That, I don't know. That seemed like it was throwing me off a little bit, I suppose.
I think it might kind of have like a double entendre meaning where the eyes does like it's kind of like the way Gordy's story reflects upon that. Like the eyes reflect this, but to me, I took it as just because there's so many and so long. The second one goes down, you know where it was. So that's how I took that one.
Yeah, I guess I also felt like the eyes thing was obviously quite interpretive because it was like that little janky horse statue thing, like the eyes on that. Where it, like is what baited Jean Jacket over at one point, and then also that giant inflatable did too. So the interpretation of like what it's and also the two yellow lights I was talking about. So it's like why wouldn't the eyes from these inflatable men also activate its like green? I'm presuming that green thing is like the sensor in some way, but
I think
maybe
so.
that doesn't
Yeah,
make sense because it doesn't always have it out.
There's one instance where, because again, most for the most part, the inflatable men are like their eyes are looking like horizontally, but there was one situation I can't remember if it was Angel's character when he was down on the ground. It was either Angel or OJ, and he looked over because he saw the inflatable tube man, like its face was staring up and its eyes were looking up, and that's when the thing went above him and started to suck like up. And so you might be right, maybe it did trigger at some instance there.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it has to like be directly above it, or I guess that would make sense because when it's like deflated, its like face is looking.
Its face is
up.
looking up at it, yeah, so
that
it
makes
sees the
sense.
eyes.
I do think there's some moments in the finale that are a little like not coincidental, but just kind of like okay, a little easy. Like I thought, what's the
That's
Fries guy's name? What's
Angel.
his?
Angel.
Loved
yeah.
Angel. Never seen this actor in my life. Want to see him a bunch of
Brandon
stuff.
Pera, I think is his
Yeah,
name.
yeah,
Perry?
he was
We
fantastic.
thought it was Dave Franco. That's what I mean.
You know,
Travis
you
thought.
thought it was Dave Franco.
Well, yeah,
You're
you
like, it
said
looks a
something
lot like
else.
Dave Franco. I'm like, well, it's like a different ethnicity version of Dave Franco. But like, I love that actor. Really good job. Can't wait to see him in other stuff. But there's two moments in the finale that I didn't really work with as far as not a big thing, but I liked it when he. This is where I'm caught on. So the Kim and the camera guy. I guess I'll start with the camera guy. Didn't like the whole no such thing as a perfect shot. I'm gonna go sacrifice myself. We get rid of all the footage. Didn't really like that at all. That feels like how like we talk about. We've seen a lot of this movie before. I've seen that in these types of movies, but I feel like in lesser movies, if the guy just decides I'm just gonna kill myself to get this shot, like it just didn't work for me. I liked that character, so I kind of felt weird that this whole time he's with them, he's getting the shot, and then he just flips. So I don't think it was natural enough for me. But what leads to that is Jean Jacket like messes up their stage, and then he ends up rolling and gets caught in the barbed wire, right? And he does this sacrifice pay where he decides he's gonna wrap the barbed wire around himself. And I thought this is actually how they're gonna kill the thing. Like, this is fantastic. If a little flag is getting stuck in this thing's throat, a barbed wire fence, that's gonna take it down. One, I felt like it really did nothing. I felt like it went up and it like cut off and like it didn't have much of an effect. And I felt like he got out of there super easy. Like, I felt like it was just in the fall, but I felt like he went up, he was wrapped in a plastic sheet and barbed wire, and it was like some MCU, like Avengers stuff that he just like wiggled his way out and survived it. And so that portion, there's a few kind of like eye-raising things to me of like, and that took away from Get Out as well. Get Out had that in the finale, and I feel like sometimes that's his weakest parts is the finale. I think even in Us, I talked about that, where there's times where it's like characters all of a sudden start acting or things start going against like the rules that they kind of went. So just those things didn't really work for me in that portion, but I still liked all the setup of everything else. And I hated that they showed Keke Palmer get sucked up in that first trailer because I knew it was coming. So the whole time, like, it's gonna happen. I'm happy.
I liked it because they subverted it, because I feel like in the trailer they had an extended cut of it, or I'd have to go back and watch it because it looks like she's clearly gone in the trailer, but in this I feel like she very quickly got shot out to the side.
I guess it's just because that happened before the barbed wire thing, so all these attacks and things that are happening, I knew it wasn't over because I know, oh, well, she's going to have to get sucked up either way. So I wish that wasn't exactly shown for me. But Taylor, you had some you're reaching out.
Angel's character, I didn't interpret that as him trying to like make the sacrifice and put barbed wire around himself to get eaten. The only thing I saw was him like pulling the barbed wire off, trying to get it off, and him trying to just get out of that situation. And he just
no, he
unfortunately
wraps it around his
like
entire
walking.
body. Yeah,
I didn't
behind
see
and
no,
up.
because I saw him. He
no,
got
he-
launched and he was in the tarp, and it like wrapped him up like in the barbed wire. When he landed,
Yeah.
he was wrapped up in the barbed wire. And so when you see the next scene, he's like trying to pull it off of him and get out of it.
But
and
I
then
thought-
he just kept getting caught in the bad position.
But I thought he was pulling it off because, like, yeah, he got out of it, but he's pulling it off now because he's survived that. I'd have to watch again, but I swear
No,
when
that's not how I
before
saw
that
it.
thing got him, he was wrapping that thing around his whole body in a way where it's like, this doesn't look.
I'm on Travis's page on this one.
I'm on
I don't
Taylor's
remember it
side.
like that.
So-
yeah, I
so
remember
it's
the
very
other
He
one.
like,
unclear then,
clearly
yeah.
like was locking it.
That's
I
what
don't
I
know.
thought. It looked like he
Maybe he
was
sucks
tightening
at
it.
untying it, which is
No,
something
'cause
I
he
would
was-
That's what I
respect
thought.
for that
I was
guy.
like,
He
this
got
guy's
knocked
not
in-
getting out of this.
He got knocked and fell into the blue tarp, and then when it like jumped to the next scene, he was like caught up in some barbed wire, and he was trying to get out of it, and then the thing started to suck him up, and then it started sucking in like the barbed wire fence, and then dropped, and that's when he like fell down again. He was just having a rough go at it,
Yeah,
because he
a
was
lot of
like
cuts.
he was intentionally looking down at the ground, like he looked up and then he snapped out of it, like shit, like I gotta look at the ground, like not look at its eyes. So
Yeah.
he was trying to get out of the situation.
I'll watch the scene again. I'll see how it goes. And then even then, so I guess what you're saying is what, he got slipped out before he got sucked in, and that's how he got out of
Exactly,
there?
because it pulled the fence in first, and then he realized, oh, this is a barbed wire fence, and dropped it, and then he was just getting brutal. But
Yeah, I thought he was
I'm-
just like attached to the fence, and then it was sucking him, but the fence was still attached to like the ground, so
Yeah.
it just wasn't going
Okay.
anywhere, and then it let him go.
I'm open to watch that interpretation. I'm just like I said, the
Yeah, I'm
way that
curious too.
actor was rolling it around looked like he was tightening it. So it's just like then we
Bad
should.
actor.
I wish we'd had a different take because
Hey,
like
don't you dare say
it
it's my
just
man
looked like the
Brandon.
barbed wire was around him loosely, like this way, and it was like loose where he could get out, and it looked like he just went and tighten
Let us
over.
know
So
in
I
the
was like,
comments what you thought of this scene.
yeah,
Because it's
what happened to
really
Barbed
hard
Wire
answer.
Gate? Yeah,
I do agree, Travis, to an extent that like that's like the last time we see him too.
yeah, it's
like,
very
why,
odd.
Why are
yeah.
you keeping him alive? Which is I'm also going to immediately counter my point and say that another subversion I liked here is our like a main cast survives the whole thing, which I
Mhm.
feel like never happens. You always come down to like one person left at the end of it usually in these kinds of things.
It's happened
So
all
I-
3 of his movies so far, though. He always likes the happy ending. And Get Out, the guy gets out. No pun intended.
But
The-
never like the whole crew, right? I guess
Well,
in
in Get
Us,
Out,
the
it's
whole
just
family
him,
does,
right? And then in
Or-
Us, the whole family. It's just a
Yeah.
twist of like something's messed up with her. But no,
okay,
he's
well
into
maybe
the
it's a
happy
Jordan Peele
endings.
thing then,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I just mean in like movies like
Yeah.
this. But so I felt like Angel was like a surprise in that sense that he survived, but also just like from the trailers I saw, I don't think he ever has a line. So I was really curious what that character's role is going to be because there's always that one shot where he's like looking up at the sky, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what's the deal with this character? Like I don't know where he fits into the story, but yeah, I ended up loving that character. I just thought he was hilarious. He was multi-layered too of like. He was just such a creep at times, but then he also like very quickly became a bro, like very like closer with Kiki. And there's that scene too where I couldn't tell if they were trying to make it so OJ is like seeing them like making out, and that's why he's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna stay in this car. I don't want to go in there." I don't know if that's what was going on there.
I don't
but
think so because I thought they insinuated she was gay. I think. I thought she referred to a girlfriend, and at one point in the store, she's like,
he does like flirt with a girl.
She
yeah.
said to a girl about being cute. I guess you could just be bisexual.
Well, she talked
too,
about how
but-
she sleeps with her therapist, right? And she mentioned the therapist. As
But we
being,
don't know if
like,
that was a man or
hers.
woman. But
No, she said her.
Okay, so then that's the third one. I didn't catch
know,
that
maybe-
about the
don't-
therapist.
I feel like Angel's not necessarily the kind of guy who would pick up on these clues in
That's
the
fair.
day that this movie takes place.
Yeah.
But
No,
I
yeah.
really like the character. I like at some points he just comes over unannounced. He's just like
Oh, yeah.
such a weird guy, way overstepping. But he was so much fun, and yeah, I guess it's weird because it almost feels like he doesn't have that final scene. But I guess none of them really do. Like there isn't really that like denouement, so to speak, where they all
OJ
get, like,
does. Oh, right. I think
Like,
OJ
like,
does
there's
with
never,
the
like, a-
horse, with the like
yes,
he has the
but
hero moment.
I don't know. I feel like often though, like you get like a 10-15 minute sequence after it's all said and done, where people are talking, they're walking down the street, they're all happy, and things are back to normal. I feel like this kind of the thing is defeated. The two characters like they see eye to eye once
Yeah.
again, and then it ends. Where most movies would go another 5-10 minutes where you'd hear them talk, which once again is not needed here, but maybe for Angel's character, it feels like that last scene is kind of just kind of a random last scene, isn't it?
Yeah, when you're referring to the relationship they had, I love when they're like, and we stayed in the house whole night, and then like while they're been talking, they like fist bump, then go back to talking to the guy. Like I liked their little duo there, and yeah, I like that he just kind of got adopted into their group almost by necessity of he believes us, and we may not like him the most, but he's a kind of weirdo like us, so
He's
we're
good
gonna
with the
bring him in.
cameras.
He's good with the cameras, and he believes us, and he thinks a theory, and yeah, all that stuff was good. I love that we got the nice little Euphoria cameo there. Kirklin wasn't. I didn't even
Yeah.
know she was in the movie. She's like the girl who's like, "What are you doing?" She's
The
eating the
golfer.
snacks. Yeah, she's from Euphoria. I can't remember her character's name, but yeah, I really liked him, and I hope to see him in more things.
That scene where he shows up to help with the tech stuff, and he just
Oh
like
my
freaks out, and he just
God.
transitions to this other kind of like persona, and he just starts showing OJ like, this is her, like left me for the fucking
My
CW.
girlfriend.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
just
Yeah,
so
look out
good.
for her.
Yeah.
Look out for her.
Yeah, look out for her.
The whole conversation
The
about
worst
that is like
possible
we've
situation.
yeah, and it's one of those like Jordan Peele's great at the. I think this is one of his best uses of humor because he just does so many good things that are relatable, and you've all had that where somebody's talking and you're like, yeah, like you're just going with the flow, but you don't care, or it's awkward, and it's just he just kept bringing it up and stuff, and like
Thought she was the one.
Yeah,
Been
I thought
together,
she was the
4
one.
years. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was really good.
Just speaking on that character of Angel, he was one that I think when he was first of all he was shown in the trailer. I think he dropped the line of like, "Oh, my supervisor's gonna call you," and then Keke Palmer's like, 5 stars, Angel, 5 star. Like I was just expecting to have this comic relief character that's probably just really annoying, and he actually really surprised me. Like, yeah, I was rooting for him at points. I really thought that was gonna be his death scene, so I was kind of surprised he didn't die in that barbed wire scene. But also just like all of his humor really worked for me. Like from when we first meet him. And he's just talking about like, oh, installation fees. Like, oh, we don't need that. He's like, really? Okay.
not
He's
gonna
like,
get
how
this.
easy is it? He's like, well, I could do it, but you're not gonna figure it out.
yeah, it's so good.
All that stuff was really good because yeah, he is he's introduced as just this kind of like asshole like jerk type character who's just like really snobby, and then when he gets to like the ranch, he's just super annoying talking about his girlfriend. But then as the film goes on, like he was just really enjoyable character to have on screen. And I was pleasantly surprised about that because, like I said, I was expecting to just be annoyed by this character. But
And
I mean,
that's go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it goes to show that like you can do these characters like more than just having like a stereotypical cutout like annoying comic relief character. Like he actually had a lot more layers.
Well, and he's not annoying to me, but that's where I feel like this is the evolution of the friend in Get Out that Daniel Kaluuya keeps calling throughout the whole movie, right? And I like him, I like the humor, but he's there just to be funny and to break like the movie's serious, and we're gonna call him for a comedic break, and that's why I like that one. I actually care about this character, and you get some moments of he's not like a complete like 3D dimensional character, but it's just like you care enough about him, and he's shown that he's a good guy and things like that. So I like that it was comedic, but it wasn't overbearing, and I felt like because that was some of my problems with Us, where I felt like sometimes there was some comedy moments that I thought killed the tension a little bit. I felt like he was really good in the really high tension moments. There was no comedy really. He would kind of sparse it in and out, but like that scene that I talk about in the middle when it's nighttime, there's no comedy throughout there. It's just dark and bad shit's happening. There's no joke. Yeah, exactly. And
that scene where they all got out of the house together and they went to his place, and it just cuts and he's on VR and Emerald's on VR.
God,
I was fucking laughing.
Stoned,
He's just smoking a joint and just fucking like. I wish I knew what they were playing.
hopefully not an alien game, because they don't talk about it for a while. They go to that restaurant, and OJ brings it up. He's like, "Oh, don't talk about it." And I feel like I have to shout Kaluuya, because Kaluuya, he's one of those actors now. It's just like he's just so good. You almost don't mention he's good because he's just damn good and everything. But I think to me he does a good job of playing kind of like this. What I like about him in this role, he plays the classic, almost Ryan Gosling, like stoic, like
subdued performance.
Subdued character, like serious character, but he has like a very comedic charm about him, like a little comedic wit to him, and he's just charming in little moments. That's why I like that he wasn't always stoic. He had some moments in there. I love the scene with his dad, which was also like a tough one. Love that Keith David was in this, and that was like such a great setup to the movie. Like, what the fuck's going on? Now when you go back to it's like all these things that are like vomiting stuff out, but and I love that character when he has that fucking coin just pinned to his wall and stuff like that.
In
So
God we trust. They highlight that line.
yeah, so I really liked the character, because the first half, okay, he is just going to be just stoic the whole time, and which is fine, that works, but there's not much you can get from that performance. But I think that character even evolved, and like I said, just his little back and forth with everybody, really enjoyed it. I liked the brother-sister dynamic, so Kaluuya's he's just one of the best out there right now,
Yeah, he really, like, he just did the role perfectly. He was just like a hard worker. Like, he doesn't really have time for this stuff. It's like, I gotta work in the morning, but then also, yeah, like he'd be stoic, and a lot of stuff wouldn't really like get to him, or at least it wouldn't show it. But like there was this at least I was getting it. Maybe I was reading into it too much, but like they really, I think they showed a perfect amount of like weight that he's feeling from the loss of his dad. And like this whole ranch is on his shoulders now. Like Keke Palmer's character, she's like, oh, let's just get the hell out of here. Like, like let's go. And he's like, where are we gonna go?
It, stuff like that.
Yeah. And he like doesn't even like consider that, even though there's like they're being attacked by an alien right here. Like it just. Yeah, and like again, you could just say that like this is all he's ever known. Like, what else is he gonna do? Like, he's born to be a rancher. But I feel like it's a lot more tied to like this is his dad's and like his family's like whole situation. Like, he can't just run away from it. And I thought he played that off so good. And even after, his dad gets just absolutely decimated by that coin and then dies. Like, you don't see him balling or anything, but it seems like he's carrying that weight on him or with him the entire film, I would say. And I think he portrayed that really, really good. All of the comedy lines, all the times that he says nope. Yeah, when he's in like the barn and those little aliens are coming at him, and it's just like what else would you say in that situation? Like, fuck this, I'm out of here. And he just.
Is that what you would say, Kirklin?
I love when he just swung too at that one alien.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like, they don't really like comment, but he
concussed.
he just absolutely broke this guy. I mean, the kid really took it like a champ. He was like kind of smiling, like, like, haha,
The mask,
we got you.
the help.
You can see his bruising too in the show and when that on that showing.
Fuck, like, but like from the kid's perspective, I feel like you couldn't get mad at someone for doing that. Like, you're literally you're scaring them half to death here in that moment. But no, just speaking for him, I think he was phenomenal, and it was one of those things where it could have been a forgettable I don't know. Like, I'm hesitant to say it could be a forgettable performance. It could be like a
Oh, it
forgettable
can be.
character. Maybe is like the best thing I would say there, because like he's just a stale. Like, he doesn't really like a lot of emotion. Like, I've seen him show off so many more emotions in previous projects, but in this, like, he was just so perfect for the role of OJ in this film. So
I 100% agree. I think what you mentioned there of like that weight that he has on his shoulders, like that's something that like depression is very hard to see in people, and I feel like he was able to bring like just that amount to it, but then he would come alive to me in the chemistry that him and Emerald had together.
Yeah.
I thought that was so fun. Travis, you mentioned the brother sister dynamic, but like that line between like them being pissed off at each other and then like just teasing each other, I thought was perfect. They would just keep going back and forth on it. The one moment that I'm gonna butcher because I don't remember the exact line, but it's when Antlers, which is the name of that guy, the weird cinematographer, which that to me is like a very Tarantino name. Just call a guy Antlers Holst. It like totally fits.
Yeah.
And he also, that was to me like the very Tarantino-esque character, not just the name, but him in general. But when he shows up at the ranch and he's like showing off his camera, and she's like, "See, I told you he would bring a
Yeah.
hand-powered camera."
Yeah.
And then they do like the triple fist bump.
Yeah.
I that's another thing where I was laughing for like 30 seconds. I just thought that was hilarious because once
She got
again,
me
he
hyped.
is a very subdued character, and he like hasn't done anything other than like running away from things. He hasn't done anything like that, high energy the whole movie. So I was just like cracking up at that. And so I mean, their dynamic through the whole thing I think is fantastic. Even when they're working at the very beginning, and he's like not good at the social part of it. He's strictly there because he knows how to talk to the horses, and he's like trying to get her attention. He starts doing the bit where he's like, "Did you know that the first camera?" Like,
Yeah.
and then she comes over and just obviously it's like the trailer thing, but just erupts and is so charismatic. And I thought the duo of those two was just fantastic. I loved every scene they had together.
And stuff like the fist bumps that like retroactively lays groundwork for like it feels like they have like obviously there's playing brother and sister, but that can just be an on paper thing, right? That makes it feel like okay, this is something clearly that they've done in the past in celebratory situations and stuff.
Yeah.
And I love the callback too. Like they showed it the trailers, but the more meaning of like the watching each other stuff, and especially that last one they do the eyes because I legitimately thought it was over for OJ. I'm like, yeah, he's not making it out of this. I was surprised he did make it to this, and I was happy. And Kiki got to take a picture with apparently the world's greatest carnival photo ever because man, those were some HD things coming out of that
it
well.
was, eh?
But just little things they would do with their dynamic to make you feel okay, these two know each other, and like you were talking about, Dylan, just the kind of residual I don't know, kind of annoyance with one another of like Kirklin's talking about like you should sell, well, you should come here and work full time. Stop talking about being an actress. Well, that is my first time job. It's just resentment was the word I was looking for between both of them in a way of like they'd prefer if they would. They're both like playing tug of war and they want someone to come to their side, one or the other, and they just won't. So
the meeting at Jupiter's Claim 2 when she's just going off fangirling and stuff like that, and he's just so pissed off. Like that's fantastic.
Let's take another ad break and then we'll be right back. And we're back. Where else do we want to go? I think I've hit most of my notes, but
I have a couple questions maybe. One is kind of related to Angel, who we were talking about earlier. He sets up the cameras, and then the praying mantis comes down and kind of ruins their day. Was there something more to that? Was that just a random bug? Like, is there anything to read into that, do you guys think? Or is that just kind of a funny gag?
I thought... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the only thing I could read into that is just the looking in the eyes thing. The camera eye, and then the bug is looking with its eyes at this thing, and that's just the concept of, like, prey, predator kind of thing going on with the film. That's all I could take from that, though.
Yeah, it seemed like too much of a coincidence for it to be a coincidence. Like it just like it was there, and then they wanted it off when the saucer was there, and it wasn't. And then when or Jean Jacket, right? That's the name of it.
Yeah, Jean Jacket. Yeah.
So when Jean Jacket left, like that's as soon as the praying mantis left, and so like they don't really talk about at any point that it could be like controlling animals or any sense like that. But it just seemed like too tied to that moment because even I think. M was saying like, oh, like when have we ever seen a praying mantis around here? Like it just seemed again, it could just be a bad miracle.
That's what my thing was. Yeah. Just because they referred to it a few times, and it's just like a life. You go left, you go right, and that's where I took it. It's a bad miracle instead of the ultimate working out. Because if the praying mantis is not there, maybe they get that shot right away, and it's all over. It just happens that there's no praying mantis all at any point, but just this one time there happens to be a praying mantis at the camera. So I took it as just a bad miracle. That's what I think. Just because they are talking about quite in the film, and they kind of did a few. We already talked about some situations, but a few situations where it was the reverse luck, bad luck. So that's what I took it as.
Yeah, and I like that. I that was a funny scene when she goes up on the roof. But to me, it was also very suspenseful, and that was one of the times when I feel like comedy and like tension was used at the same time, and it was used well because I was like, oh, like something bad is gonna happen when she's up on this roof. So I like that that scene. Question for you guys: so there's kind of this thing done throughout the movie, like obviously like the title card, like the screen goes black and it says nope. But then we get the names that kind of are splitting up into parts. You could say it never says part 1, whatever it is, but it says it has Ghost, Gordy, Lucky's one of them, Jean Jacket's another one. I think I'm missing 1 or 2, but
Ricky got his own card. I thought didn't.
Right.
No, Gordy got the card.
Gordy did.
Yeah.
I think there was 1 or 2 more than I mentioned, but I'm curious what you guys think of that as like a pacing thing or as a framing thing, because I don't know. I guess I feel like from my perspective, I feel like nothing like would have changed if that was not there, but maybe it worked for pacing. I'm curious what you guys thought of that.
I don't know, Taylor or Kirklin. Did it remind you a lot of Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Yes.
Because it does that a
With
lot.
the character names?
No,
okay.
it just is like a quick like
different act. Basically.
yeah, 3 words of
okay.
like the night is dark, like something like that. That's what I thought.
see.
I don't mind it because even though I have some pacing, some problems with it being slowly paced, I felt like it kind of almost tried to make it more like a book in a sense, and that's what I thought of like as chapters and stuff like that. So you know what, I didn't mind that as somebody that like kind of likes that format and has maybe put it into a story of his that here and there in the future that I hope to do, that I liked it enough, and it gives it like little chunks, because that also felt very Tarantino-y to me too, because he does that in Pulp Fiction where it's like, here's the story, right? And that's where I feel like when you get the Gordy thing, that's where I go, okay, I think there's some stuff with Gordy and Ricky you could actually take out. It might not be needed, but it's like, this is the Gordy Ricky chapter, and then when he gets sucked up, the Gordy chapter's over and it's done from there. So I think I liked it as like a little guide.
Yeah, cool. I liked it as well. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe it's just like a cheap trick to make me feel a little more artsy, like watching a movie like that. But yeah, it just, I feel like also it every time I saw those, it would like pose a question to myself of like, okay, what are we gonna get here, like in regards to this title? So it was a fun little mini game that I had with myself while watching it. But
I mean, I like that they just called that Jean Jacket. Like that just became the canon name. And then, when Golden Geeks time comes around, best villain, like we're just gonna have to call it Jean Jacket.
Oh, 100%. Jean Jacket's
yeah.
definitely
Which
in
I
that
think is
category.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Or Gordy. Gordy's competition for Jean Jacket.
You can have 2 from one movie. I'm not gonna stop you.
Yeah. I'm not gonna make him villain. It was a balloon. He was scared.
Yeah, more than scared. A couple points of foreshadow. There's, Peele, and any director worth their weight in gold. What is that saying? Is that what it is? Is always going to layer all sorts of foreshadow in there. I like when they're doing the walk through Jupiter's Claim, and Emerald like photo bombs the kids who are doing the photograph, and that's what ends up being the thing later. I think that's great. Also, even just seeing the inflatable man, like the camera really focuses on that. And at first you're thinking, oh, that's just like a fun prop. Like, of course they're going to show that. But then obviously that's like a big plot point later on. So a couple nice little foreshadow beats. We kind of mentioned it, but I want to bring him up again. Antlers Holst, like, I fucking love this character. This is the weird director camera guy. Because I feel like it's cool because the first shot he's behind the camera in like that commercial, so you don't really see him much. And then he's in the director's chair, and it's like, it feels weird to me that he's there. It's like, why is he there? He doesn't actually say anything, and you don't really, like, he's blurry. He's kind of blurred out because he's in the background, so they don't really like focus on him. But then just all these weird shots of it's like when they're on the phone, and it's the shot from like him from the back, and he's watching these just very strange clips
Of predators.
He's got his like creepy little like film studio thing that he's working on. Like, I feel like it takes a long time in the movie before you see his face like close up in the front. And to me, he was just such a weird, intense character. But I loved that performance for what is like a minor character, but is like gonna be so much more memorable because of just these weird details that are thrown on and the performance for me. And Travis, you mentioned not liking the ending of the character, but I loved it. Like, to me, that totally fit with this fucking weirdo and like what he would do in that situation. And for some reason he thinks that he would be good enough to survive it or something, or he just wants this out of body experience as he goes into the afterlife filming like this shot that no one's ever got before. Whatever it is, somewhere in between the two things I just threw out there, whatever it is, it totally works for me. So I get Michael Wincott's the name of the actor.
Yeah.
I've never seen him or don't recognize him, I guess, but I thought he was fantastic, and I'm so glad that he was in this movie. I feel like it added a nice layer to it.
I agree. Yeah, he added a nice little spice. If you had like a nice little burrito or something, there's that one ingredient like, oh, I need that. You know, it doesn't break the burrito without being it, but it just makes it a little bit better. That's this guy. So no, I enjoyed it. Other than like I said, the ending maybe I'll come more around when I see it a second time. But at first, I just thought, okay, it's just, I guess it's just because I've seen it so many times of like crazy guy does crazy thing, and you're like, okay. And I just felt like he had turned the corner of no longer being completely not crazy guy, but just felt like he was with the gang. But no, really like the character. He had a lot, just his voice in general too. So
Yeah.
I like. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna touch. I love like the Predator, like sequence of him just watching clips of Predators, and it seemed very similar to the way that Jean Jacket would deal with his villain. Like it seemed like we had like an anaconda
Very
like
grotesque.
constricting. Yeah, we had like just creepy things that was unsettling, and then I really liked when he joined the crew. I feel like I don't know. I'm somewhere in the middle on like his death sequence. I feel like he's the type of character I could have just not had like an ending. Like I probably could have been completely fine with that if he was just like chilling and then we don't see him again and then it's just kind of assumed that he made it out. But again, I guess it makes sense to have a weird guy have a weird death.
I guess, yeah, at the very least, you'd have to destroy his gear so that shot
Yeah.
makes sense. But yeah, you're right. He didn't need to die for that to happen because the gear could have just got destroyed for many other reasons.
Yeah. I definitely don't have much of a problem with him dying. It just, to me, it kind of seems like this artistic people can be very interesting characters, and this just seems like an old, been around the world, rustic character guy. He's seen shit. He's got all these shots. People praise him, and he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care anymore. He's just. It feels like now what he's doing, he's just doing it just because, and he's already got all his accolades and everything. So now when he's faced with this unbelievable thing he just saw, I like how it's in line with his character because he wants that impossible. It's that obscure artistic component attached to a creative content artist.
He can't help himself,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
So
gotta get that thrill.
it's not. I don't even see it as him thinking he's dying. I honestly interpret it as he's doing this and he's like ascending, getting this perfect shot, literally ascending, but getting the perfect shot. This is it. Like dying is in no comparison to this. Like this is life. This is peak. So I think it fits with his character and everything that we've kind of picked up from now on because he just doesn't seem to have any kind of motive or happiness. He's just existing, and now he's able to surpass that by achieving this. And so I dig it. I like it.
Hey Taylor, if you're not dying, you ain't living. This guy was embodying that.
Oh yeah.
That's his lifestyle. I had two last notes. One, this is a very Peel thing. I feel like in Us, there's like a TV playing, and it's like, if you really listen to what that TV is saying, it's like foreshadow for later on. At one point, I forget, it might have been when they're at Fry's. I can't remember. Maybe they're just driving. But there's like a radio going on that's talking about some hikers that went missing in that area, which I think is great because that like gives reasoning for when you're hearing, at one point you're hearing screams and it's before we've seen anyone on screen get eaten up. And I'm like, oh, it's the hikers. That's who was in there. So I thought that was a great little connection that they had in there. And then my last thing, very random, is at the show that they were doing at, I deleted it in my notes. What's it called? Jupiter's Claim. They had a Slurpee machine, which was producing ices, is what they called them. But they had a cactus flavor. What do you guys think about the cactus flavor? Would you try that in a Slurpee if it was at your
I think
local?
you'd have to.
Your local store. What if it was Nope? What if it was Nope branded cactus flavor?
Nope.
Well, yeah, and I'm still waiting. Universal, I've been saying this. You need to start selling the Scorpion King crew hoodies. They could make a fucking killing, and I will pay at least almost nearly $100 for it. So make these fucking hoodies. I would try it if someone else had it, but I wouldn't want to risk getting like a whole one because I feel like it's gonna be a bitter taste. So I would like to try it, but if trying it means like, yeah, you got to get a whole large or medium, no, I don't know, because it might be a waste of $3, you know.
I have two options here. So the first one is rough. Sour. The cactus is a very sour taste, kind of like asparagus almost, or green beans or green peppers.
I don't want to drink that.
Now,
Don't wanna
the
drink
other
that.
tastes people say it's like a cross between bubblegum and watermelon.
Well, I
Okay,
want
well, that's
that.
a great.
That-
want that
that's
one
a
too.
big double. That's like Russian roulette. Like either this
Yeah.
chamber's
What
empty
if
or
it's
you're
like,
dead.
What if it's like those like jelly bean things that we had
Yeah.
that one time,
Yeah.
where you don't know which one you're getting when you put it in your Slurpee?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not
Or
taking
like
that
each
gamble.
sip could be a
No.
different experience.
I'm not taking that gamble. I got the earwax when I tried the Harry Potter jelly ben. The jelly
Enough
ben.
puke in my
times.
nose from
Good
that.
times. Oh man,
That was all my notes.
I got nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely gonna be a movie. I feel like just the more and more I see it, the more and more things I'm gonna be catching on.
Mhm.
I remember after like the first time I watched Get Out, which was like a year or so after it was actually out. I just like went on. There was like a YouTube breakdown of every like minor symbolism thing. I'm excited to watch one of those because, like, while watching the movie, I feel like I'm seeing some things in the background, but I'm not clever enough to put two and two together. So it's like, oh, I'm excited to find out the significance of this.
Oh yeah, it's one of those YouTube the things you missed.
Yeah.
And yeah, no,
100%.
Yeah, be fun.
You said you watched it with your dad, or did you
Yep.
watch it with Shay? Was Shay see it too?
Shay would not see this movie.
She wouldn't want to see it.
She would
really?
not see this movie.
Oh,
I guarantee
gosh.
that.
Not a peel head.
No, I think
Not a
I
horror
got
head.
her to watch most of Get Out with me, and it was getting a little too intense. But she's
and Get
not
Out,
a
I would say, is like
thriller
his
kid.
tamest like
Yeah.
horror one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like even Us, like I remember.
oh us
Funny,
no.
all these Peel movies actually. I'm realizing for the first time I watched them with my dad, but because I watched Us, and then it was late at night. I was driving home, and I just happened to have like my bike in my car, and I don't have like a rack or anything, so I had to like fish it out, and it's just pitch black where I park. So I'm just like picturing a like mirrored version of myself.
You're
coming out with some
tethered coming
scissors
after
here.
you.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
like I had those moments, and then same thing. I'm walking from where I park. I'm like looking in the air for this ominous.
Don't
disc.
look
why
in
you
the
wouldn't
air.
help-
Did
wouldn't
you
help
not learn
Shay?
anything?
Shay had to go to the car. You wouldn't go with her that time.
Yeah,
Oh, my
yeah.
tether's
I've
out
seen
there.
Us.
She was not going with me that time. Yeah.
Any final thoughts or like final notes to bring up before we do final thoughts?
Final notes before we do final
Well,
thoughts?
there's notes and final thoughts. You know.
I don't think I have any
Nope
final
notes.
notes.
All right. I'll go first. Yeah, love this movie. Like I said, it's in my top 3 right now. I think it's my favorite
For
Peel
the
movie.
year, you mean, not all time.
All time. No.
That'd be
Even though my 1 and 2 are like in my top 10 of all
Yeah.
time. So that's in good company with everything and the Batman. Like those are 2 like top tier ones for me. But this was great. This has been a lot of other movies for me, and it's fantastic. I think I'm going like a 9.5 now. I'm putting the asterisks in it. I think this is easily with the second rewatch. I could get it to that 10, but there's still a few things that like we talk about the barbed wire, like talk about the camera guy. I still think some of the pacing is like a little bit. I know Kirklin's gonna be like, "Oh no, I'll give it a 10," but
Oh, sounds
for-
like my Dune.
for you were like, unless it gets a sequel, it's not getting a 10. But I feel that even for me, I still thought pacing wise, there's still a few things you could have trimmed a little bit because I think this movie's like 225 or something. I think like it could have been like a 210, a 205, maybe more 210. But I think there's just some stuff. But yeah, 9.5 still fantastic. It's up there with like the Northman, Turning Red, Top Gun. Like it's just been a goddamn good year. So yeah, that's my score and my thoughts. Loved it.
I'll go next. Yeah, man, what a stacked year this has been. This is insane. I really, really love this movie. I feel like, honestly, it could have been just a straight up 10 out of 10 for me if I didn't see those teaser trailers, just because I would have had no concept of what this was. Like, going into it, I knew I was expecting aliens, and I just reminded myself, I rewatched the teaser trailer as you guys were talking, because I was trying to figure out what led me to
right.
believe that there was physical aliens, and it was definitely a mix-up of like the kids in the alien costumes, and then they have a shot of Gordy pounding Stephen Yeun's
Yep.
character, and it looked very alien to me. I'm like,
Very
okay,
smart.
we're getting an alien creature here. So yes,
Well-
huge credits to the.
What was the shot that wasn't in the movie?
No, I think I was just confusing the Gordy sequence. Like,
Oh,
I thought
okay.
it was like an
Gotcha.
alien figure.
I see.
And then I also thought we just saw like more of an alien creature chasing them, but I was probably just mixing trailers in my mind. We watch a lot of trailers for the GeekVerse, so they tend to blend together. Especially if I don't rewatch a specific trailer, I feel like I
GeekVerse.
remember.
Well, I remember
Just
Get Out
specific
did that. It was like
moments.
some skeleton horse or something. Like, was not in the movie, right? Something like that.
No, I think it's in the movie. It's just his visions, like when
Oh,
he's in the upside
Mm.
down.
What do I know?
But yeah, no, this was an absolutely fantastic journey. It was such a healthy blend of comedy, suspense, and like something else I forgot to mention is just like I was pretty shocked of just how bright this movie was for like a UFO movie where you feel like you'd want to hide it. It's just plain as day, like very like blue skies for a lot of moments in this movie, and it's I feel like that is a comfort thing in a movie like this, is to have light, but it still was equally as as terrifying. And I forgot to also shout out just like the movements of the UFO. I loved how like quick and silent it was. It made it just that much more ominous. But yeah, I think this is a solid 9 out of 10 for me. Like just a nice even flat 9. I think definitely more viewings. It could fluctuate. It could go up. I don't think it could really go down. I think there was a couple pacing things I had issues with, but I was also maybe just confused as to like why we were seeing certain things. So again, maybe it has more significance on a second watch or third watch or something like that. But nonetheless, phenomenal movie, 9 out of 10. Peele continues to deliver. It's pretty crazy that he's I mean, he's already been at that point, but he's that type of director that you just see the name and it's going to put people in seats just for a Peele movie. So that's awesome seeing that he's still making top quality stuff.
Mr. Field.
So I'm just gonna give it a flat 9 out of 10, like you, Kirklin. This is
What's with these flats? It
Flat.
sounds so weird.
Cracked
It sounds
the
like
can a while ago,
disrespectful.
now they're flat.
Disrespectful. Flat 9.
The kicker for me was just how flamboyant the alien became at the end, basically. Like, again, I like the idea of it, but I just feel like that's where the CGI started to really get like a tone down for me. I just like looked at certain things, like the quality of like when I was doing like the vibrational things, like I just thought like this seems like, I love the pattern, I like the design a lot, but I just thought, I feel like what we got so far, like this is such a big like spectacle, but I feel like I can see that it's not there, like this is too CGI like that's the drawback for me. And that sucks, because I wish like if somehow like the studio could have just been like, okay, like Jordan Peele, we're gonna give you like an extra $10 million. Just fucking like, let's put more money into this alien. Like, let's do it, because I think that would have been
to rework it.
Yeah,
I would
that
not
would have been
want that. Don't put
that would
any
have
more
been
money. Like,
perfect.
perfect. Just the way it was.
Again, that's the only con though. It's just when I saw it and it was transforming into that thing and it was doing the different motions, like like I hate this because I can see that it's very, very CGI. That's my only takeaway. Other than that, I love the characters. I love the story. I loved everything about this movie. Again, like I said at the beginning of this review, Signs has always been that one like tense alien movie that always had me on the edge of my seat. And now I have this as a second one that I can put on that shelf with that film. Just it's an extraterrestrial, terrifying film that has some humorous moments to it. It's not overdone, but it's just got this nice layer of tensity and panic and fear with great, again, that's that CGI moment with the alien at the end. That's the one kicker. But at other moments, I think it's the context of the lighting. When you get the blood pouring on the house, like you guys talked about before, like that's just fantastic cinematography right there, just to see like this is fucking terrifying, stacking it with the acting and the development. Like there's so much good stuff about this. So hopefully you watch the movie and you tune in this review. But I mean, if you haven't,
you always say that at the end of your spoiler.
But it worked, because who was it? Clay. I think Clay actually listened to the review and then went to
true.
watch the movie.
Yeah.
So there are
But what
those.
he listened to because he
I
thought it
do
was gonna
it.
be a bad one.
Yeah, he said that for
remember?
Jurassic, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
I do it for
Yeah.
Taylor Solo reviews as well.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
So
Taylor recommends it if you've gone this
I
far.
definitely
The curse of
recommend it.
Rome.
I will be. I'm gonna absolutely keep my eyes out for a steelbook for this movie, and I'm gonna buy it for the shelf.
I hope it's the helmet of the TMZ.
The
just the
trailer,
horse
like
head.
the
Yeah.
poster, does look great with the horse flying there.
Taylor, have you not seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind? I feel like that's such,
Yes,
like, a-
actually, I watched
Okay.
that not too long
Okay.
ago. The one doesn't
Good.
give me super goosebumps. Some moments,
It's pretty
but-
old,
It's a
but
classic.
it's a classic.
classic,
Steven
yeah.
Spielberg.
Peak Spielberg.
He-
Yeah. Dill Muss, final thoughts.
Yeah, I absolutely love this movie from start to finish. It is terrifying and hilarious all the same. It's my favorite kind of movie is one that just has like filled with little details that you can dig in on and like how we're taking some of these things are just like we're taking a second and blowing out into like a 10-minute conversation, just like what do you think this is, and that's like my favorite thing. And I don't do the numbers anymore, but if I did, and not to say this is how number system rating works, I don't think there's anything that would take this down from like that perfect 10 out of 10 score.
S
Like,
tier.
this is fantastic, and as Travis alluded to, like there is some stiff competition this year when it comes to Golden Geeks. And we're only in July, so there's a bunch more stuff coming out. So very exciting, and I absolutely love it. I'm like a certified Peelhead now. Like get me in there. I'm there day one. Love this. So creative, fantastic. I don't know what else to say.
How many
It's
jean
amazing.
jackets would you give this movie?
I'm wearing the one jean jacket I can fit on my body. I am so
Canadian tuxedo.
stoked. I don't know. You could just say that Jordan Peele is absolutely crushing it, like Chris Kattan as Cordy. Absolutely love this movie. Nice job, Jordan. Feels weird to call him Jordan. He doesn't seem like a Jordan. He seems like a Jordan.
Mr. Peel. Mr.
Yeah.
I call
You're
him
on a
Mr.
first name
Peel.
basis
Mr.
with him. It's
Peel.
all good.
No.
I have that with some other actors.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was our review for Nope. Let us know on the Facebook, the Twitter, the YouTube, the Discord what you thought about it, your theories, your takeaways, stuff like that. This was a good one. I always like these kind of brain crunching ones. And yeah, when you hear from us next, it'll not be boring.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.